Shalom, and welcome to another edition of The Truth Shall Make You Free. I'm your host, Elder Nathaniel, and on my right,
Deacon Asaph.
Today's topic, are God's laws destroyed? But before we begin, let's open up with John chapter 8 and verse 32.
John chapter 8, verse 32. And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free.
So it's high time for every black man, black woman, Latin man, and Latin woman, children of the slave trade, to realize that you are the biblical Israelites. Let's open up with Deuteronomy 28 and verse 15. Okay? So I'll pose a question. We've got many letters, many emails, many calls. Are God's laws destroyed as your Christian churches teach? Deuteronomy 28 verse 15.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments.
All is what?
All his commandments, and his statutes which I command thee this day, that all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
So Moses told the Israelites, if you break God's commandments, all these curses will come upon you and overtake you. Jump down to verse 32. Let's read about some of these curses.
Verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people.
Did that happen to us? Were our sons and our daughters taken from us and given to another race of people? Yes.
Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long, and there shall be no might in thine hand.
We had no economic might, no military might to retrieve our sons and our daughters back as a nation again. Jump down to verse 37.
Verse 37. And thou shalt become an astonishment and a proverb and a byword among all the nations whither the Lord shall lead thee.
To be called a proverb and a byword literally means your nationality would be changed by your slave masters, okay? Did that happen to us as a people? Yes, our nationalities were all changed. No longer do they call you Judah, they call you American blacks. No longer do they call you Benjamin, they call you West Indian blacks. No longer do they call you Levites, they call you Haitian blacks. So forth and so on, as you can see on the 12 tribes sign. Jump down to verse 47. Now watch this. Listen real good.
Verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart for the abundance of all things.
Now what does that part mean? We didn't serve the Lord with joyfulness and gladness of heart. Joyfulness and gladness of heart pertaining to what? Verse 15 again.
Verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments.
To do all his what?
To do all his commandments.
Go back to verse 47.
Verse 47. Because thou servest not the Lord thy God with joyfulness and with gladness of heart.
We didn't have joyfulness and gladness of heart to keep the commandments. Okay? This is why the next verse says what it says. Keep reading.
For the abundance of all things.
For the earth.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
Therefore, because you refuse to keep the commandments with joyfulness and gladness of heart, therefore you shall what?
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies.
Therefore you shall serve the white man. Come on.
Which the Lord shall send against thee.
Because the Lord sent the white man against us. Come on.
In hunger.
And we have to serve the white man in hunger, meaning for food. Come on.
And in thirst.
And in thirst we had to serve the white man.
And in nakedness.
And for clothing we had to serve the white man.
And in want of all things.
If we want anything, brothers and sisters, we have to serve our enemies. Today it is the so-called white man. No longer is it ancient Babylon. No longer is it ancient Persia or ancient Media or ancient Greece or Rome. Today it's the United States of America. Okay? Read that again.
Therefore shalt thou serve thine enemies, which the Lord shall send against thee in hunger and in thirst and in nakedness and in want of all things. And he shall put a yoke of iron upon thy neck until ye have destroyed
Did we as a people have yokes of iron upon our neck? Yes. Were we destroyed as a people? Yes. Okay, we were destroyed mentally and spiritually. Now, from there, jump down to verse 68. Let's end up with these curses.
Verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
The word Egypt means bondage, meaning slavery. Read it again.
And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
With what?
With ships.
With what?
With ships.
With ships. Did that happen to us? Yes. were brought into captivity on cargo slave ships. Come on.
By the way whereof I spake unto thee, thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies.
And there, once we got off those ships, we would what?
And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies, for bondmen and bondwomen.
And slave women. Come on.
And no man shall buy you.
And no man shall save you. That's what that buy means, save. Now, from there, now you might ask yourself, what does this have to do with your question, are God's laws destroyed? You must remember why we as a people went into slavery. Why? Because we broke God's laws. We broke his commandments. Now, Deuteronomy chapter 30. Deuteronomy chapter 30. I'm building it up for you, okay? Deuteronomy 30, we're going to read 1 through 8. Watch the prophecy.
Deuteronomy chapter 30, verse 1. And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessings and the curse.
What? Wait. And it shall come to pass when all these things are come upon thee, the blessings. When did the blessings come on us as a people? During the time of David and Solomon. We had 80 years of being a top nation on earth. No nation could stand before us. Read it again.
And it shall come to pass, when all these things are come upon thee, the blessing and the curse.
What are we living now? The curse. We read the curses. We're living that now. Come on.
Which I have set before thee, and thou shalt call them to mind.
And you shall call these curses to mind, like we just did at the beginning of the program. Come on.
Among all the nations whither the Lord thy God hath driven.
So wherever you are, if you're viewing this program, whether you're in South Carolina, Georgia, Texas, Virginia, Argentina, Chile, Uruguay, Nicaragua, Panama, Haiti, or West Indies, it said we should what?
Thou shalt call them to mind among all the nations whither the Lord thy God hath driven thee.
Watch this.
And shalt return unto the Lord thy God, and shalt obey his voice according to all that I command thee this day.
So now when we call these curses to mind, we must come back and obey the voice of the Lord our God. Obey his voice based upon what? The commandments. Watch, come on.
Thou and thy children...
Wait, thou and who?
Thou and thy children.
So, black man, this ain't just about you. It's about you and your children. Understand that. Come on.
Thou and thy children with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that then the Lord thy God will turn thy captivity and have compassion upon thee.
It said then, when we do that, us and our children, then the Lord will turn our captivity. What does that mean? It means deliver us. We're just going down to verse 8. Come on.
And will return and gather thee from all the nations.
What is the Lord going to do if we return and keep his commandments?
And will return and gather thee from all the nations.
He's going to gather us from all the nations.
Whither the Lord thy God hath scattered thee.
Where he has scattered us. Come on.
If any of thine be driven out unto the outmost parts of heaven.
If any of our seed, our sons and daughters, have been driven and scattered to the utmost parts of the sea.
From thence will the Lord thy God gather thee.
The Lord promised to gather our sons and our daughters wherever they're scattered. What verse is that?
4.
Come on.
And from thence will he fetch thee. And the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed.
You hear that? And then the Lord said he would bring us into the land which our fathers possessed. What land is that prophesying about? The land of Israel. The promised land. Come on.
And then the Lord thy God will bring thee into the land which thy fathers possessed, and thou shalt possess it, and he will do thee good and multiply thee above thy fathers.
Come on.
And the Lord thy God will circumcise thine heart and the heart of thy seed to love the Lord thy God with all thine heart and with all thy soul, that thou mayest live. And the Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies.
So all the curses that we as the Israelites suffered, he promised in this prophecy to put all those curses on our enemies. That's right. The white man's going to have yokes of iron on his neck. That's right. The Arabs and the Africans too going to have yokes of iron on their necks. They're going to be in slave ships. Okay, understand that God is a just God. Come on.
And the Lord thy God will put all these curses upon thine enemies, and on them that hate thee, which persecuted thee. And thou shalt return and obey the voice of the Lord, and do all his commandments.
And do all his what?
And do all his commandments which I commanded thee this day.
Was that verse 8?
Verse 8.
That's letting you know we must come back and keep the command. That's the prophecy. That has not happened yet. Okay? For all you churchgoers talking about God's laws is destroyed. You are some foolish Negroes and Latinos. Watch this. Let's get more proof. Matthew 5, verse 17. Matthew, let's get to the words of Jesus the Christ. Come on.
Matthew chapter 5, verse 17. Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets.
Christ said, think not, meaning don't get it twisted. Don't get it in your little head that he came to destroy the law. Or what?
Think not that I am come to destroy the law or the prophets.
Meaning, don't think Christ came to destroy nothing the prophets prophesied about. Like what we just read in Deuteronomy 30, verse 1 through 8. Christ didn't come to destroy that. Come on.
I am not come to destroy, but to fulfill.
Christ, what does it mean he come to fulfill? He's going to make sure everything written is fulfilled. Now, you got a lot of dumb church people out there, a whole lot, who go around saying, see, the law is fulfilled. We don't got to keep the law. You're ignorant and foolish. What does it mean fulfill? I'm going to show you. Get Luke 24. Now, you at home, get your Bibles, your pens and papers, take notes. Luke 24, we want verse 44 to 46. What did Christ mean when he says, I'm not come to destroy the law or the prophets, but to fulfill the law and the prophets? Watch this.
Luke 24, verse 44. And he said unto them, these are the words which I spoke unto you while I was yet with you, that all these things must be fulfilled.
All these things must be fulfilled.
Which were written in the law of Moses.
Which were written in the law of Moses.
And in the prophets.
And in the prophets.
And in the Psalms.
And in the Psalms.
Concerning me.
Concerning what?
Concerning me.
So meaning what? Christ came to fulfill everything written concerning him. Understand that. Because you dumb church ministers go, we could be adulterers now. We could be thieves and liars now because Christ fulfilled the law. That's why the white man calls you a bunch of niggas. That's why he calls our people niggas. Because you don't get no dumber than a church minister. Just dumb as hell. So now, watch this. He said he came to fulfill those things which were written concerning him, correct?
Correct.
Let's watch Psalms 22, please. I'm giving you some basic examples on what was written in the law of Moses and in the Psalms concerning Christ that he came to fulfill. Psalms 22, verse 16 to 18.
Psalms 22, verse 16. For dogs have compassed me. The assembly of wicked have enclosed me. They pierce my hands and my feet.
They pierce my hands and my feet. Talking about crucifixion. Go ahead.
I may tell all my bones. They look and stare upon me. They part my garments among them and cast lots upon my vesture.
So the prophecy is that they would pierce his hands and his feet, okay? They would part his garments. Was that fulfilled? Go to Matthew 27, verse 35. Did Christ fulfill that prophecy, okay? Because like, oh, I don't know. Matthew 27, verse 35.
Matthew 27, verse 35. And they crucified him.
What? And they crucified him. That's why you got to know a little bit about history. When the Romans instituted crucifixion, how did they do it? They pierced your hands and your feet with a long nail. Understand that. That's historically accurate. That's what they did. Read it again.
And they crucified him and parted his garments, casting lots, that it might be fulfilled, which was spoken by the prophet. They parted my garments among them, and upon my vesture did they cast lots.
So Christ came to make sure the fulfillment was accomplished, what was written in Psalms 22. Here's another one. Watch this. Give me Leviticus 9 and 3. I'm going to show you something. I'm going to show you something deep. I'm going to show you something spiritual right now. Leviticus chapter 9, verse 3. Watch this.
Leviticus chapter 9, verse 3.
Or one is verse 3.
And unto the children of Israel thou shalt speak, saying, Take ye a kid of goats for a sin offering, and a calf and a lamb.
And a what?
And a calf and a lamb.
And a lamb. Go ahead.
Both of the first year, without blemish, for a burnt offering.
So now that was the beginning of that. So what kind of offering was it?
A burnt offering.
From the beginning of that verse.
And it came to pass, verse 3 again.
Yeah.
And unto the children of Israel thou shalt speak, saying, Take ye a kid of the goats for a sin offering.
Sin offering. This burnt offering was a sin offering that you would take